For me, it was the study of science. And so it was actually interacting with the atheists, kind of like the prodigal son. And you start asking them all these questions. It's like, you guys have no answers.
Yep.
You pretend.
What is it that led you or John Sanford to kind of, solidify your trust in the Bible and your confidence in the creation by the Creator?
For me personally, I'd say it was an act of God and His providence and people praying for me. I had, rather than give first the intellectual answer, it came at a very personal level. John 6:68, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have words of eternal life. And I was like, okay, I could be an atheist, but then what do I have? Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. And I said, I need something more than that to live my life, to pursue it. And I said, okay, I'll take what little scraps of faith I have. And this is about 20 years ago. I'd been a Christian for about 20 years at that point, but I was starting to have a lot of doubts. Something very common. I was just praying for my terminally ill dad, and he didn't recover. And I'm just like, well, is God really there? And this is a very typical story for a lot of people that fall out of the faith. They feel that God's ignored them. Mm-hmm. And then, so I was running out of gas. When things were going good, it's like I could hold on. But when they started to get time to crunch time, I was like, is this really real? Am I just pursuing an illusion? And then it just hit me. I have nowhere else to go. So that was the start. I went to my prayer group in obedience to James 5:16. I said, I have enough faith that if I confess my faults before others, that I can be healed. Mm-hmm. I said, maybe God won't honor the prayer of a doubting Thomas, but He'll honor the prayer of righteous people. And so I went there, and they were obedient to the Epistle of Jude, where it says, have mercy on those who doubt. I classify doubters as those who want to believe but are really having struggles. Mm-hmm. And they said, Sal, we're praying for you. Be with us. We love you. And that process was 2 years. So rather than give an intellectual answer, that was the most important thing, because God will use different methods for how one's healing is affected. For me, it was the study of science. And so it was actually interacting with the atheists, kind of like the prodigal son. And you start asking them all these questions. It's like, you guys have no answers. Yep. You pretend it's an illusion. So I would start with the origin of life, and I'd study the chemistry, and I'd start to talk to them. And they, rather than giving me scientific answers, it was ad hominems. It was misrepresentation, outright fabrications, every sort of obfuscation and red herring. I said, that's not indicative of something that's scientifically solid. And that really began it for me. And it was their behavior. It's like, gee, why does this question make you feel so uncomfortable? And so both at a scientific and an emotional level, that's played out over the last 20 years. And the trend has always been, the more that I study, the stronger the case has gotten. And the more that I engage them, the more that I see that they're just totally bluffing. And that really did it for me. For Dr. Sanford, I don't have a lot of details on what persuaded him, but he was reading certain books, and he also remembered his professors saying, yeah, there's still problems in evolutionary theory. This is what it is, something called mutational load. And I know that's a technical term, but basically the evolutionary biologists have been wondering, even to this day, why we're still alive. There are increasing numbers of birth defects with each generation. How could we have evolved if generally the trend is that each generation is a little sicker than the previous one? That's very compelling. And so he did a lot of research in that. I had supported him in that, and also other fields. But then it's also his colleagues who are secular scientists, who are also Christians, they keep finding things. And so it's a glorious time right now, 2021. Some of the arguments we have now weren't available 40 years ago. So the cutting edge is a lot of fun right now.